We got about 25 odd minutes in time for questions to cover what really could be a total one-day session in and of itself. So what I'm going to hope to do is get you started, give you some key thoughts to look at, and then we'll carry on the conversation. As Guy mentioned, I also run the Customer Success Management Forum on LinkedIn. We have 2,200 members as of this morning that they're from all over the world. And you will find that the questions that I've heard today and a lot more are being asked every day and answered in very different ways. And that brings me to a first very important point. There is no one way to build a customer success management team because there's no one definition of customer success management. What I'm going to give you this morning is my vision of what I think customer success management could be, should be, but this is my vision. Use it if it's useful, toss it if it's not, because what's going to count is yours and your customers. What are they looking for? Okay, 2 keys to building a CSM team, and the first one is managing vision and perception. How do you perceive yourself? How does the rest of the company perceive you? How do the customers perceive you? And one of the pieces to that is everybody starts out anti-churn. Do something about churn. And there's a vision progression from anti-churn to revenue management and optimization that is a key to building what I think will be a successful CSM team. You're going to start with anti-churn. Don't stop there. The second key is data. And it's the right data. As Ken pointed out, you can get drowned in data if you collect everything. It's not the quantity of the data, it's the quality of it and how you're going to use it. You have to ask yourself, what am I going to use this data? What data do I need? And make sure that your technology can collect it for you. But that's not enough. You have to analyze it effectively. And even that's not enough, because there's a third step to that. You have to market it. You have to use it. Last week at the CSM Forum in San Francisco, I was talking about our forebears, the customer support people, and one of the major mistakes they made was they allowed themselves to get locked into an inappropriate vision that they were all about break fix. They did not collect the right data, did not utilize it, but they had a lot of data. And they figured, well, if somebody else in the organization wants it, they'll come get it from me. You have to go market it to them, and you have to know the value of what you're marketing. So these are the keys for moving up what I call the customer success management maturity matrix. And that's what it looks like. As I said, everybody starts at the firefighter level. And there's a problem with that, because it's always reactive. The phone rings, as Ken mentioned, when's the first time you start talking to somebody? When you're due for a renewal? Well, no, not if you're wise, because by that time, the decision to leave may already have been made. So the mission you get handed typically, and everybody, I've been talking to people all over the world with this, the common denominator is it's something about churn. And the mission is kind of ill-defined, but it really looks like, stop that customer, don't let him out the door. And then it's, stop those customers, no, you can't leave. What do I got to do to make you sign up for another one? How can I fix this problem? So do something about churn. Well, what is churn? If you ask people, what's churn? You're going to get a bunch of different definitions. Some people are going to describe it as lost logos, lost accounts. Other people are going to describe it as lost seats. Okay? My preferred version of that is lost revenue. At the end of the day, we keep score by money, and the money piece of it is the most useful one to you, that you can get the most insight and traction out of. Process. Okay, let's move on and take a look. Well, let me give you a brief. The firefighter is about churn. The facilitator is when you move more into making sure they're off to a good start. The maintainer is where the account maintenance people get into it, and the final stage is about the owner. And that's the owner of the ongoing customer relationships, every aspect of it. So that's the picture. Frankly, we're going to spend most of our time this morning talking about the first two, because that's where most of you are. Again, if you want more information on the others or questions that come up that I don't get to this morning, call me or join in the forum, because you'll get both my answers and everybody else's as well. All right, at the firefighter level, their strategy is always reactive. Nothing happens until the phone rings or until it looks like something's going code red or code yellowish or, oops, what's going on? The mission, all over the map, but something to do about churn. Definition of role. What do we do about churn? Stop those people from leaving. How do you stop those people from leaving? What are the best practices? That's going to vary depending on your organization and your verticals. In some customer bases, they like a lot of this. In other customer bases, they like a lot of that. Your job is to figure that one out. Process. I have been asking questions about process categories for about 2 years now. I have yet to get a good answer from anybody. I submit that's a problem. Because one of the things you want to do, of course, is you want to make this repeatable. What are the best practices when a customer does this? Well, what worked in the past? If you didn't collect the data on how you solved this problem, you don't have any roadmap for how to solve it if it pops up again, and it will, as you well know. I mean, one of the problems with our support folks are in break fix. Fix one problem and here's 5 more. Fix 5 more and there's 50 more waiting after that. Fix those and there's 1,000 after that one. It never ends because it's fixing things, it's not preventing. We need to be about preventing and optimizing. Okay, so the process is all over the map. The analysis isn't really done, and what you need to be doing at this stage is, okay, you're going to have code reds. You've got to react to them. That's the role that got handed to you. As I said, don't stop there. And the key out of it is start analyzing those interactions. What did you do? Did it work? Try to identify developing code reds before they get red. When they start going yellow and you understand that something's amiss, the earlier you can get at that, the better. Organization. 2 forms here. Sometimes a customer success management group at this stage is an ad hoc organization. Maybe there's a manager, but there's no people permanently assigned to that manager. Maybe there are. But there's a mix in here between ad hoc, throw it together, everybody on deck for the code red, and an established organization. You may start at one, or you may actually start it with the other. You may get somebody that says, okay, you're the manager. Your mission, Mr. Phelps, should you choose to accept it, is ... And oh, by the by, I'll give you a couple of people. And then we begin the game of arguing for more resources. Does that sound familiar to anybody? Okay, I think I got a little smile there. Okay, technology. At this stage in play of the game, it's mostly your customer relationship management system, Salesforce or its ilk, and Excel. That's about it. Needs to be more. Now, all of you, if you're in a SaaS organization, your customer support group has a case management system. Go talk to your customers, to those folks, and say, hey, I want to use the case management system to track my interactions with my customers. Please give me a special header so my data doesn't necessarily mix with yours. That'll make the support manager feel nice and good. But get access to it, start tracking those interactions. Oh, by the by, a good percentage of what you do used to be called support, and it still is. And you need to know the truth of that. Okay, let me skip back to half a second on people. What are you looking for? What should be hiring at this point? A mix of things, but sales engineers are high up there because you obviously need the product expertise. You're also going to need domain expertise. You need flexibility, the ability to think fast and to keep your head. And you need the ability to notice trends and notice what works. So these are the kinds of people you want, the kinds of skills that you need to be looking for. Challenges and barriers to advancement. This is how you move up past the firefighter stage into facilitator. What do you need to accomplish to make the case to the organization to move you up? Well, your challenges are, first of all, you're going to be challenged on staff and budget allocation, because what's your budget? Fuzzy or short-sighted definition of the role, okay, that's a challenge you need to work on. And the lack of data to prove things in dollars and cents terms. So your goals and objectives for advancement are gather the data, the tactics on what works, What does it cost? Because our value prop is hey, everybody in the SaaS game knows about customer acquisition cost. But there's also customer retention cost, revenue retention costs. We don't talk about it, and we need to, because that's your budget. That's your budget justification. If you don't have those figures, if you don't have a sense for them, it's time to start developing it. Lessons to be learned, demonstrated, and proved in order to move up. First one, the earlier you start in a code red situation, the better your chance for success. This is not rocket science. We all know this. But can we prove it in a way to justify our budget? We need to be able to do that. Another old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Yes, we all know that. But can we prove it? How will we prove it? And we need to identify the needed tools that will take us to the next level. We've got an idea of the data that we're going to need. How are we going to get that data? This is where, if you haven't started talking to Totango or some of the other manufacturers who offer the tracking and the analytics and the whole customer success management suite, you need to be, because you're going to need those tools. And lastly, we also start here to refine the role, to start moving away from anti-churn to being about retention. At the facilitator level, things begin to get interesting. Check my time. Okay. The diagram here, building this, the pieces of the organizational puzzle, I was asked, in the interim, we were talking with a couple of people, somebody said, well, how do you avoid stepping on the toes of your professional services and your implementation team? Well, my answer to that is you don't have to worry about stepping on their toes when they're part of your organization. And they should be. Success, support, implementation, training all require the same skill sets, the same knowledge of the customer, the same smarts. They belong together. And the reason they belong together is so that you can flow people dynamically within the organization without worrying about crossing organizational boundaries. Now, is that going to take you time to sell? Oh, yeah. Another benefit of doing this is that it gets you a revenue stream. Done right, implementation and training are revenue producers, profitability issues. We need to start moving that, which is why I put the eyeball with the dollar sign on it. You've got to start talking in terms of money. Now, there's another benefit to this. A bunch of guys were sitting at a major SaaS company, were sitting around one afternoon, and somebody came up with the idea, I wonder what the connection is between a professional implementation and long-term retention. So they went and they'd start digging, and the answer for them was better than 50%. And it shocked them. Two things about that. One, very valid information. Two, somebody had to ask the question to get there, to start looking at that. You need good people who ask questions in your organizations. Okay, we kind of skipped ahead to people on that, looking at that structure, but that's a key one. Individuals, the right people at this point is increasingly going to be about domain expertise. Years ago, when I was selling multi-user computers, a salesman told me, you are never ever going to be able to sell a system to a machine shop owner unless you can put on a pair of coveralls and a hard hat and go speak fluent machine shop. Because he's going to think he'll have to teach you his business. Same thing here. Domain expertise is when you talk to a customer and you can say, I noticed that you're using these features to accomplish these results. But if we added these features over here, my other customers and that, this helps them move up. This is the profitability gains that they get. So you're coaching them about how to improve their business, their profitability. There's that money thing again. Sorry to bring up that again. Get used to it. I'm going to keep doing it. Technology, utilization trackers. You've got to know what you're doing and what your customers are doing in real time. It stunned me. Most SaaS companies do not do this. Software sitting on your server, why wouldn't you do this? Quick answer, because that's not features and functionality that the customer is going to pay us for, so therefore we're not interested in doing it. Did somebody mention culture change a little earlier? There it is. Big job. All right, challenges and barriers to advancement. The lack of a clear business case. Customer acquisition cost versus revenue retention costs. If you don't have that data, get it. Mindset. We're a technology company, not a insert the blanks. You know, yeah, we could do professional service, but no, we're not in the business of doing professional services. We're in the business of selling software. Well, yeah, that may be fine, but what are your customers buying? Because your customer doesn't want to buy software. Your customer wants to buy increased productivity, increased profitability. And if you don't give it to them, somebody else will. Goals and objectives for advancement. Build the data. Build your data set. Analyze it. Market it. Keep your eye on the money, particularly your own costs of operation. How much did that last code red exercise cost the company? I've been asking that one for a while. I rarely get a good answer on it. You need to have that information. And profitability from revenues generated. Start counting money. All right. The maintainer. This typically is something that you can slide into by accident when somebody says, oh, by the by, we're going to give you a couple sales guys that didn't work out all that well as hunters. Use them to do your renewal sales, would you? So you find yourself doing renewal sales in this. This is not bad. This is a good development. There's a great discussion going on in the forum about the relationship between customer success management and sales. And I've gotten a lot of comments that people have been too scared to post under their own names that they ship them to me privately, so that I'm going to use on this. We're doing the forum here in San Francisco. Actually, it's down in Redwood City next month on this subject. It's odd at this stage that you usually don't get cross-sells and upsells. You just get renewal sales. And if you've been skillful enough to grab hold of the support people and bring them into your organization, you've automatically inherited renewal of support contracts along with this. This is not a bad thing. This is a good thing. Revenue for you. And additional headcount. The process on this, again, track your interactions, track what you're doing. This is the development of your own best practices. How do I stop a customer from even thinking about leaving? How do I detect a customer that's not moving up the value chain fast enough and encourage them along? Even better, how do I identify what our value tiers look like and what the characteristics of a top person, a top company in the value tier? And how do I move other companies up there in a way that makes sense first for them and then for us? On the people side, you want, again, we're talking more about counselor selling at this point. And coaching. How do I move them up the value chain? How do I make them more productive, more profitable? And by doing the same for us. It's a new definition of sales. Anybody ever gone into an Apple store to watch the floor reps and how they play the game? It's a fascinating thing. They start talking to somebody new who's never used this stuff before, and he says, well, what are you trying to do? Oh, okay, well, here's how we do that. And, oh, you know, if you're doing this, you might want to do that too. Here's how that piece fits in. And they're this interactive conversation. They're having a fun time. They use, you know, younger people for it, although not always. But this is fun. And somewhere in the process, an order just happens. Well, it's not just happens. It's carefully brought along. But they don't have an experience of being sold. They just say, I want this. Let me get this. Same thing what we need to do. If you move your customer up the value chain of their own productivity and profitability, I don't think you're going to have to worry much about the point where you say, oh, by the way, the subscription comes due next month for renewal. Can I send you the invoice now? That's all there is to it. Challenges and barriers to advancement. And here comes up a big one. Sooner or later, you are going to have to slay the dragon of the sales compensation plan. Because, of course, the sales team owns the revenue, and that's how they're compensated. But they want to go hunt new deals. So that compensation plan is going to have to be adjusted in some way so that it makes sense for everybody and everybody's happy. And that's something you're going to have to sell to the CEO because it has to come top down. So notice that when you're probably not there yet, but notice that sooner or later that's going to be something you're going to have to deal with. Your goals and objectives for advancement to the next stage, detailed profit and loss data. Ideal customer profiles. How do I recognize a customer at this level? What are their characteristics? How do I move them up to the next level in a way that makes sense? How am I doing on time? Got it, thanks. All right, let's take a look at the last one. We had a session a month ago. We were talking to some people. We had a presentation of a lady from Badgeville, and she was talking about, because the subject came up about the relationship with sales. And she says, oh yeah, well, see, I get together with the salespeople usually weekly to review the deals that they're thinking of closing. Got dead silent in the room. And she said, but you're staring at me. What's wrong? I said, are you telling me that you have veto authority over deals? And she said, of course you couldn't do your job without it. This is a vision thing. But she was besieged after that session with folks saying, can I come to work for you? How many times has the wrong customer been sold in the wrong way? And somebody, won't mention any names, CSMs, but somebody had to clean up after that. Wouldn't it be great if you could talk to the sales team ahead of time and say, this is our preferred ideal customer where they're happiest and we make the most money. Here's how you recognize them. Here's the way they talk. Here's the keywords, and here's how you pitch them. It's like radar directing, a fighter squadron out there. Your target's out there. Yep, up. Yep, got him. Go. Weapons free. Wouldn't you like to be in that position? If you would, you're going to have to build your way there. And the key to it is vision and data. Way back along, somebody asked me, said, well, what's the mission for an effective CSM team? And just off the cuff, I said, well, we make more money better, faster for your company and ours, and we can prove it. Now, there's a lot in that. But the last couple of words, we can prove it, is where your data comes in, is where your visioning comes to fruition, and that's where the fun is. Now, earlier, starting out this morning, Guy talked about this is a new profession. It is a new profession. It's developing worldwide. It's all over the map right now, but it needs to come together around some common concepts that we can all agree on. And I don't think any one of us really wants to be a firefighter for the rest of our lives. Maybe it appeals to you for a while. You're never going to get away from it entirely, so you need those skills. But wouldn't life be much more fun and much more valuable and your salary level's much higher if you truly were about maintaining the ongoing customer relationship and you were about profitability for the corporation? Now, if you're interested, I've got some data on the connection between churn and corporate profitability that we can go over. There's a couple of white papers and things like that. This is a language you've got to be able to speak, and you've got to speak it fluently to your customers, to your team, and especially to your senior management level.